And I know we have some folks in here who, for whom that's a significant issue. Let me say this, I don't know what's going to happen. It does seem that there will be a vote or not vote, as the case may be, on Sunday. Something will happen on Sunday, which you can spin into a number of conspiracy theories that Sunday is the trough of the media, whatever. I'm not a supporter of the bill or version of bills, the Senate bill as it stands today, and I'm certainly not a supporter of pushing health care reform through under the reconciliation procedure that they're currently. We'll see how it goes, whether it happens or not. I hope it doesn't happen. And let me say this though, I don't hope it doesn't happen because I don't care about Americans having really good health coverage. My position is this, that we are the most prosperous country in the history of human civilization. We have no excuse to not have the best healthcare system in the history of human civilization. And we don't. And everybody in here, whether you're a lay person or a professional physician or you work in a hospital, acknowledges that to be true. So what we've got to figure out is what's wrong. And part of my diagnosis of the debate as it's arrived where it is now is that we've rushed off in such a hurry to provide answers that we haven't asked the right questions. And that most of what has been discussed up to this point, as I've talked about elsewhere, is in fact not health care reform, it's health finance reform. Health finance reform is important, but it's not the whole package. And until we get a few of the basic pieces right, then simply expanding coverage isn't going to solve everything that is touted to solve. The two basic things that I have a tendency to talk about are number one, that we've got to shift the business model for health insurers away from either a for-profit, publicly traded company or, like most of the big blues, those who must act like a for-profit, publicly traded company to keep up with the Joneses. We have to shift away from that model because under that model, any of us who've worked for a large publicly traded company know that your ultimate mandate is producing shareholder value, which means increasing the stock price, increasing the dividend, increasing the profit. And as long as health insurers are ultimately beholden to the stockholder and the interest of the stockholder, then they have to produce a profit no matter what else you do. Right? And if they have to produce a profit and we expand coverage for everybody, that's a boon to the health insurers because they get more customers. And even if you temporarily cap premiums, it's still a lot of money. And what happens for those of us who've had insurance, had good insurance, bad insurance, no insurance, is even when you have good insurance, we often find ourselves on the phone haggling with and begging and trying to outlast the insurance company. And what's going to happen is if you maintain a for-profit model for health insurers, and the only way, and you cap their revenue, you cap the premiums that they can collect and the customers they can attract, the only other way they have to generate profit is by gradually decreasing what they're paying out on claims. Their expenses are all they can control at that point. And so they'll keep pushing down and keep making it harder and harder to get good coverage. So, and that's why I'm advocating a cooperative model, which isn't as kooky as it sounds. It's really simply saying that you have to get the interests of the policyholders in line with the owners of the company. And you do that in a cooperative model by making sure the policyholders are the owners of the company. And that they're not a sort of faux cooperative like most of the Blue Cross Blue Shield are at this point, but they're like a credit union, farmers cooperative, or rural electric cooperative. They're the kind of business that pushes their returns back to the policyholders and creates a competitive environment in that way. And again, I'm not for nationalizing. I'm not for creating an expanded Medicare type option. And then the second thing for the doctors here and other healthcare providers is we have to correct what I perceive to be the perverse disincentive for doctors to take the time to listen to patients. That right now the reimbursement model is such that doctors are forced to A, see too many patients, in too big of a hurry, and then B, they are urged, coaxed to run extra tests and procedures that simply pay exponentially better than a traditional clinic office visit. And so until we can begin to take issues of wellness and prevention and that face-to-face time with your primary care physician seriously, I simply don't believe that we're going to make great strides forward in terms of our healthcare system. And let me say two other things really quick. And one is, I'm all for health savings accounts or any other form of a payment model that encourages ownership, that encourages personal ownership, rather than somebody else pays my hospital bills, somebody else pays my doctor's bills. In the same way that if we were going to, if you told me that I could go to Walmart and I could just spend whatever and it would never come back to me, would I be thrifty at Walmart? No. I buy whatever I wanted. And that's really the system that we have right now, the system that Baxter Regional and other hospitals are dealing with, because we've got folks going to the ER as their primary care doctor. And it's too wasteful. And until we can create an ownership model so that folks say, well, maybe that's going to cost me $100. I need to make sure I'm really sick before I go off and do that. Then we're not going to get any significant change in behavior. And then the last thing is tort reform, that we've got to push forward a serious but real world solution to outrageous medical lawsuits. And now lawyers are probably always going to make a fair amount of money off these things, and that's partly due to the system as it stands today, that they can't, for a plaintiff, they can't charge exactly the way that they would in another instance, because folks may not be able to pay for that medical malpractice suit. So there will always be a percent, but we can lower that percent really significantly, and lawyers can still, they'll still be able to feed their families. And hopefully folks working in the healthcare professions will be able to feed their families with less stress through that as well. So anyway, those are the four issues, and we can talk about that more later. There's a lot of moving parts, as you know.